This is Alessandra Barrett, Special Projects Editor for the Journal of Commerce. I'm at our Inland Distribution Conference in Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm speaking with Patrick Robinson, Vice President of Development for Kansas City-based NorthPoint Development. Thanks for speaking with us today, Patrick.
Thanks for having me, and welcome to Kansas City.
Thanks. What should we know about Kansas City?
As you're aware, the big correlation on inland ports and inland distribution, which is kind of the topic that you're all here to cover.
Yep.
From that perspective, the direct correlation in my business on the real estate side is industrial development.
Okay.
In Kansas City, we have about 275 million square feet of industrial space, and the vacancy rate's about 6.5%. So we're seeing a lot of investment in Kansas City, and we're seeing a lot of speculative development. So there's about 2 million square feet under construction right now without a tenant. One of the interesting things we look at is kind of per capita industrial space. So in Kansas City, there's 135 square feet of industrial space per capita. Other kind of common inland distribution locations like Dallas and Chicago have somewhere between 115 to 118 square feet of industrial space per capita. We think there are some pretty good reasons why Kansas City's done well and maybe getting more than our fair share of distribution center space based on that metric. A lot of it has to do with our transportation network. So from a railroad perspective, we're serviced by 4 Class 1 railroads. I'm working closely with the BNSF at Logistics Park Kansas City. But in terms of railroads, Kansas City is the #1 rail center in terms of tonnage. As it relates to trucking, we're the #3 center in the country. And then on the highway transportation, or the other surface transportation mode, we have more lane miles of highway per capita than anywhere else in the U.S. So we kind of think the bottom line is that it's easy to get into Kansas City, it's easy to get out of Kansas City. So for the sake of example, we're working with a retailer right now that they found that they can replenish all of their stores with 3-day trucking to the contiguous 48 states out of Kansas City. They have peak sales on the weekend, so they're selling on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Sure.
Sunday night or Monday morning, they're placing their order to restock, and by Thursday, their shelves are restocked and they're ready for the next weekend. So
that's great.
it's a good location from that perspective. As it relates to our project, Logistics Park Kansas City, we did utilize some Journal of Commerce data we looked at the top 100 importers, and we kind of found a correlation for every incremental 10,000 containers that enters the country. It basically represents about 1.5 million square feet of industrial space development. So when we look at the kind of reasonable incremental growth of the BNSF facility in Edgerton at Logistics Park Kansas City, over the next 20 years, we expect, nominally there to be 650 to 700,000 units per year in incremental growth over a 20-year period.
Okay.
So as that correlates to our business, you're talking about almost 100 million square feet of incremental growth. What we know about traffic here in Kansas City is that about 40% of intermodal containers currently leave the market. We're certainly working with folks to reposition those containers and build facilities for them in Kansas City. But even if we're not able to do that, we're talking about the impact of the incremental growth of the BNSF in Kansas City over the next 20 years being 60 million square feet. The project we're working on, represents 15 to 20 million square feet of that. So we're optimistic about kind of what our past has been, and us having more distribution center space per capita than anywhere else, and we think that trend will continue based on the investments that are being made here and the ability on the transportation side.
As we know, every inland port is different. What niche does Logistics Park Kansas City serve?
We're partnered up with the BNSF out at Logistics Park Kansas City. The thing that we're really excited about is that BNSF offers all of their product lines out at LPKC.
Okay.
So we have direct rail serve sites, we have domestic intermodal, we have international intermodal or IPI, and then we have a heavyweight corridor on 191st Street, which we expect will really help us out on the export loads, and we're consolidating some domestic shipments for export as well. So basically, if you can ship it on BNSF, we can take care of it at Logistics Park, Kansas City. So, and you know, that's relatively unique. I mean, if you look at like LPC in Chicago,
Sure.
that's a purely international play. And you know, kind of what we're finding when we talk to prospective tenants is that they like the long-term flexibility because you know you never know where your sourcing is going to be, or you never know if you're going to transload on the West Coast. So if you were shipping, you know, international containers inland, and all of a sudden you decided to transload those and make them domestic on the West Coast, you have a facility here in Kansas City that if you select it here to distribute from, that it's a long-term decision that you can live with the ebbs and flows of what happens on the transportation side.
Well, thanks for taking time away from the conference to speak with us for a little bit today.
Thanks for having me.
We've been speaking with Patrick Robinson, Vice President of Development for NorthPoint Development.